This is What's Wild in New Hampshire by wildlife biologist Eric Orff. I'm back at New Hampshire Fish and Game headquarters, and I'm with the deer biologist, Becky. Becky Fuda. How are you this morning, Becky?
Doing good. How are you?
All right. Hey, looks like we survived the winter. Tell us about the deer. How'd the deer in New Hampshire fared this winter? What was the winter severity index? And tell us a little bit about that number.
Sure. So every year we collect data on winter severity index from cooperators at various weather stations across the state. And so those cooperators count the number of days that go below zero and the number of days that snow depth is greater than 18 inches. And so this index gives us a way to estimate what sort of mortality we're going to see in the deer herd, overwinter mortality we're going to see in the deer herd this year.
You have like 30 stations. They're scattered across the state, right? Quite a few.
Yeah, there's. I'm not sure the exact number, but yeah, that sounds about right. A couple dozen maybe. And so this year, as most folks are probably experienced, we had a fairly mild winter. So that winter severity index, it was well below the long-term average.
The deer did good.
Across the state,
a good deer
so
winter.
We don't expect to see much overwinter mortality, and that does line up with what biologists saw on the ground during their surveys of deer wintering areas.
So wildlife biologists actually get out in the wintertime and check deer yards across the state. I know I did that for a long time.
We tend to concentrate them in the northern part of the state, and unless we have a severe winter, because in the southern part of the state, if we don't have a severe winter, the deer are just not spending that much time in those yards.
Right. So what else is happening? Seems like the does are going to be giving birth soon. What typically happens there?
Yeah, so right around this time, most does are going to be getting ready to give birth, and so first thing they're going to do is drive away last year's fawns and leave their little group of deer and seek out a place to give birth. So they might be moving around a little bit.
Seems like the car kills usually go up the end of May.
An uptick in roadkill.
So nighttime, watch for deer moving. Sunset to sunrise.
Yep.
Watch for deer moving.
Right. So they're looking for a place that has fairly dense cover where they can go give birth.
All right, so keep those high beams on and watch the side of the road for deer, for pregnant mothers trying to cross the road. So let's keep an eye on them. And of course, they're going to give birth here in a couple of weeks, along with everybody else. The annual appeal to Fish and Game to leave the animals alone, like don't touch the babies. The mother leaves them for a while.
Right. So when deer fawns are born, they're quite small. They're only about 6 to 8 pounds, and they're not very agile. So they're not agile enough or fast enough to evade predators. So the strategy that deer use is to hide those fawns. So that doe is going to hide the fawn, and then she's larger, she has a stronger scent, so she might attract predators. So she'll hide that fawn, and then she'll go off maybe a few hundred yards, maybe more, maybe less, and she'll feed and she'll visit the fawn maybe a few times a day, maybe once a day, to allow that fawn to nurse. And so a lot of times, unfortunately, we have folks that find fawns and they think that fawn might be abandoned because they don't realize that this is the predator avoidance strategy that deer use. And so we try to spread the word that if you find a deer fawn, please leave it alone. The best thing to do is leave it alone, give it some space so that doe feels safe to come back and visit her fawn. And if there is evidence, if you do find a fawn where clearly there is a doe that has been hit by a car and she's lactating, you can give us a call, but 99% of the time, that fawn is just doing what's best for it. It's hiding and it's waiting for its mother to return. And so we never want folks to feed that fawn. They have very specialized requirements, so don't feed the fawn, don't bring it inside. Only especially permitted wildlife rehabilitators can legally care for wildlife in New Hampshire.
And there'll be, fawns and lots of other little things will be out and about. The same thing goes for it all, right?
Right.
Leave wildlife wild.
Yes, leave wildlife alone, and if you have a question, you can always give us a call.
All right. Thank you, Becky. So easy winter on our deer. Females are moving. Keep those high beams on, watch the edge of the road, and hey, leave the baby deer and animals alone. Thank you very much, Becky. This is Wildlife Biologist Eric Orr for What's Wild in New Hampshire.